Let's start with Duke Houston. Let us start with Duke Houston because this is one of those things where I watched Duke against Alabama on Saturday, and Alabama is a really good team. Like, we watched Alabama just torch BYU with an NCAA record number of three-pointers for a game. And then Duke just little boyed Alabama. Like, just it's like, you know, putting your hand on the guy's head and he just swings and nothing happens. Because Duke has so many ways to beat you. And that's the scary part about Duke. It feels like no matter who they play, whether, you know, they're playing Houston first, if they beat Houston, they're going to play Florida or Auburn. But no matter who they play, they've got more firepower than anybody else.
Okay, so here's my take, prisoner of the moment take. And I tweeted about it the other night. You might have already seen it, so this won't surprise you. But I feel like, as a person with limited historical background on basketball, like when you were talking about that Villanova shot, like I remember it happening, but I wouldn't have been able to recall it on my own. I gamble on the games, I watch the games, but I don't like retain it. But I feel like Duke this year is maybe the best college basketball team I've ever seen. And I know that there will be people who are like, yeah, well, last year's team was awesome, and teams that had 5 future NBA players on it. I'm not saying it is the best team. I'm saying from my experience watching college basketball, I don't think I've ever seen a more functional college team.
It is among the most talented, like purely talented, kind of the pieces all fit together, right? You're not being a prisoner of the moment saying that. There
here's the reason, though.
Examples of teams that were maybe more talented, but this is in the conversation.
College basketball, to me, and maybe it's because I bet incessantly on like mid-majors in January that play on Tuesday night on channels that aren't national. But college basketball to me is like sloppy and frantic a lot. It feels like chickens with their heads cut off a lot of the times. I don't know if you get this feeling when you're watching it, because I watch a lot of NBA, you know, especially.
Oh no, even the Elite Eight game between Houston and Tennessee. Now Houston dominated that game, but there was a period where Houston shots weren't falling either, and it was just miserable to watch. Like nobody could do anything right.
You've got unforced turnovers and weird mistakes and clanks all the time, and like, I feel like college basketball looks so much different from the NBA when you compare college football to the NFL. Like, college football at the highest level, I feel like looks and resembles more of what you would see on Sundays than college basketball does for the NBA. Maybe it's because the NBA, just if you make it, everybody makes every shot they shoot. I don't know what it is.
But the NBA, people don't miss open shots, and they sometimes throw bad passes, but rarely.
Yeah, but also, too, I feel like in the NBA, they run more offensive sets. Like, I feel like in college basketball, all the sets look the same. And, like, the team that wins is usually the one that scores the most sloppy buckets and transition and all these things. And I'll say that, like, everything that Duke does feels intentional. It feels like they run offensive sets. They are in control. They play like an NBA team, to me.
And they look like an NBA team because they've got these guys that they would be, you know, traditional big men in college basketball and other places. Like Cooper Flagg is 6'9". He's taller than most of Houston's post players. Like when Houston's got Arsenault in the game, who's 6'6". Now he's really long, but he's 6'6". Juwan Roberts is their best post player, 6'8". Like Cooper Flagg is taller than both of them, but he can also handle the ball, break a press, do all of the things, like run your offense through him. And that's a huge difference. Conkaniple's 6'7" and can do all of those things. Is it a 91% free throw shooter? Yeah.
About Kniple, because I love his last name, and I've been saying it a lot for no reason. You know, like, so is he an NBA guy? Like, is he going to play in the league for a long time, or is he like the classic great college player?
No, he's going to play in the NBA. He's a freshman. Okay. He's going to be a lottery pick. Yeah.
Okay. Because everybody talks about Cooper Flagg. That kid is insanely good. And like, I know that Duke is like, aren't they like 6'7" and taller at every position? Isn't that like the thing with them? Like
their shortest starter 6'6".
Yeah. So like, they're just like a hard team to defend or to match up with because they're just so huge. But I feel like Cooper Flagg, when he's playing, when he gets going, or if he's going to take a shot, like I feel like the man doesn't miss. Like it doesn't feel like you're watching college basketball when you're watching Duke. And Duke was playing Alabama, a team that I saw shoot like 99% from 3 2 nights ago. And I know that maybe they ended up winning
if you watch my preview video, you know why Alabama couldn't hit threes, because BYU's small. They went under every ball screen. Duke doesn't have to go under ball screens. They're just coming out on the perimeter and putting a hand in your face.
And Alabama also, too, missed. I mean, they took a ton of threes from far away. They had open looks. I just think it's hard to shoot that well in 2 games in a row, especially when you're playing against a team that's physical, which is why I loved the under in that game. And then I also but they made a very good team who can score 90 points against just about anybody in college basketball look like they had no shot. To me, if they're even money to win the national championship, that's probably not great odds considering they've got to beat 2 1 seeds on the way to it. But I just do not see a team beating them this year. And I really, and like the thing too is like prisoner of the moment or not, like a lot of people disagreed. And like Ralph Russo said, UNC once had a team with 3 Hall of Famers and 2 of them were upperclassmen. I'm sure that was like one of the Jordan teams. Like I get like there's probably teams that have had more like recognizable NBA names on it than this. But I'm saying from my experience watching college basketball, again, which isn't as extensive, which maybe a lot of people in this chat, I've never watched a team and just go, that team is not losing. Like, they're just too good.
You want to bring home the W? Well, guess what? If you order online April 4th through the 7th, double points, you will definitely bring home the W. The Whataburger tailgate box, 10 burgers, fixins, your choice. Ari, I was going through the fixins list. I like the grilled jalapeños. Now, you can do both of these. How about this one? You ready? Grilled jalapeños and avocado.
That's a word we don't use enough. Fixins.
Fixins. I hate it when people who aren't from the South try to use it. Whataburger's, born in Texas, now all over the South. They can use it all they want. So I'm telling you, you can customize this burger box, 10 burgers with or without cheese. Whatever fixins you want to have in there, you can do that. Also, get a What Wings pack. That's 72 boneless bites. Your choice of sauce and a family box of French fries. Oh, my goodness. It's beautiful.
What's your take on the avocado topping for burgers? Like you're in?
It's brilliant. Brilliant.
Because Whataburger has mushroom Swiss. I mean, you can make it your way, which is great.
Oh, trust me. We're going to be talking about the mushroom Swiss burger all week. So that tomorrow they would like everyone who talks about Whataburger to very much emphasize the mushroom Swiss burger. So get ready for that as well. Yeah. But
are we going to be able to pop down from the truck on Saturday and take a?
We're going to have the Whataburger food truck on Saturday.
That's what I'm saying. Are we going to pop down?
I am requesting that we get to talk to their executive chef because I want to know how they come up with all this stuff. Like it is awesome, awesome. Well, and so
in my life.
The question is, how does Houston beat them if it is to happen? And it's got to be partly what we saw against Tennessee, where they just locked them down. Kelvin Sampson basically told them to trust themselves when they were getting run through. Because what Tennessee does is they'll run you through the picket fence of off-ball screens, where it's like if you're trying to defend a guy who doesn't have the ball, you're chasing him, and it's like boom, 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 like Sideshow Bob with the rakes on The Simpsons. And so Kelvin Sampson's like, you guys are all old. And Houston's a super old team. You know what you're doing. Trust yourselves. And they did. And they locked Tennessee down. They are going to have to play such good defense against this Duke team because they are going to be physically overmatched at almost every position.
I don't even know if this is like the Duke thing, Andy, but I feel like they finished 7 alley-oops a half. Because their offensive set was so perfectly ran that there's somebody just flying to the basket uncontested. I feel like they are so well coached on top of the talent, which makes it crazy because I watched a lot of college basketball during the Coach K years. And they obviously had a lot of great teams, but it's like Duke isn't supposed to be this deep and talented and good and well coached 2 years after losing the greatest coach of all time. That'd be like if Alabama had an historically talented run with 7 first-round draft picks on their team next year. It's not supposed to go this way. And I know that Duke is a made man in college basketball, but holy crap, man. They are so good. They are so good.
And if Houston doesn't have a great shooting night. Like they need LJ Cryer to get hot. They need him to be hot like he was in the Gonzaga game. That Duke's going to do that to everybody. And I can listen, if Duke wins this game and they're going to play Florida or Auburn, I'll probably say the same thing about Florida and Auburn, which by the way, have more offensive options than Houston does. And you're right. This is just a really talented Duke team. And it's probably kind of boring to say you think that Duke's going to win the national title or you think Duke's going to win this game and move to the national title game. But
the only regret that I have is that I didn't watch Duke play at all during the regular season to realize what they were, so I could have bet them to win it before this thing started. Like, weren't they like 8-1 at one point? Like, I wish I could have gotten 8-1 on
it. Would have been really early because once ACC play hit, it was obvious what this.
I think
what
the pre-tournament odds. I think the pre-tournament odds were 8-1.
Was it okay?
Which is like way less than most teams. Like, I mean, winning the tournament is hard, but like, I wish I was sitting on an 8-1 ticket now because I'm going to have an even money ticket here by the end of the day once it pops up on my site. Like, I think they're going to, I don't know. And then
the hardest part about picking against Duke is that you can see the options if this guy doesn't, like if Cooper Flagg's not hot and Knippel hits a bunch of shots, or if neither of them are hitting, they just go inside to Malawak. Like they have so many different ways to kill you.
How many times has Duke played the opponent's style of basketball? Like
they can play any style they want. That's the scary part.
It's just hard to make them play your game. I don't know. Again, you're listening to a college basketball preview from somebody who, is just checking in right now. But like it's just they're awesome. And I think they're going to win, and I think they're going to win fairly comfortably.
I will take Duke to cover in this one as well. They're a 4.5-point favorite. I think Houston, as good as they are offensively compared to recent Kelvin Sampson teams, I just don't know that they're going to be able to get it. Although there's a lot of karma going on, or just kismet going on. Remember, Kelvin Sampson gets fired from Indiana for something that's not against the rules anymore. He goes to San Antonio where his buddy Greg Popovich is coaching the Spurs and it's sort of like the football coaches do with Nick Saban. Like he does the Greg Popovich analyst thing and then spends more time in the NBA as an assistant, comes back and has really just revolutionized this Houston program. They're going to be here almost every year, but I just think they're about to run into a buzzsaw.
You know what I think is interesting about Sampson, Andy, and just college basketball in general? But it seems like all the coaches who get fired for breaking the old rules, or all the coaches who were perceived to be cheaters and that have come back into the sport, are all just, look who they're back deep in the tournament again. And it's like, how many disgraced coaches in college football? I mean, a lot of times when you're a disgraced coach in college football, you never go back. It's so much harder to be in the postseason at the same level because the NCAA tournament is so much more open to smaller schools. But
Kelvin Sampson is elite. Like he's got Houston among the elite.
But also like Rick Pitino, like one of the greatest coaches of all time. Like a lot of who's the coach we were talking about when I was in Vegas? Who's
Will Wade.
Will Wade, that's right. Like they're just good coaches. Like maybe I don't know, they were cheating at the time.
And Kelvin Sampson used his time away very wisely. I mean, so the play that won them the Sweet 16 game, the inbound play, is one when he was an assistant with the Milwaukee Bucks. He took from Scott Skiles, who was the coach at the time, who would run it for Lou Ridnour. So like he definitely used that time away very wisely and came back a much better coach, and that was
a great play, wasn't it? That was really that was a thing of beauty. I mean,
and it's funny because the announcers immediately like, oh yeah, everybody forgets the inbounder, but you never think to do that. Like, why doesn't everybody run that?
It's unbelievable. Yeah.
So
to have an uncontested lay-in in that moment because the play was designed so perfectly. You when you talk about like coaching and what it's like to put your team in a position to win a basketball game, that was like exhibit A of like perfectness. Is that a word? Perfectness?
This is a weekend of really good coaching matchups. You just talked about John Scheyer. Kelvin Sampson is obviously elite.